So the difference between gross income and net income is huge. Don't be misled by people who said they earned a ton of money. They might not have any net income. Think, for example, General Motors car company. For a long time, they probably had billions of dollars of revenue. So the company was earning billions of dollars every year, but their expenses were so high that they had no net income. So even though money was coming in, more money was going out of their company. They weren't making any money whatsoever. They were actually losing money. And this is actually the case with a lot of people or a lot of businesses or a lot of individuals. They might have high gross income, meaning sales revenue or money coming in, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have any net income. They might not be keeping any of that. So think even, for example, like a real estate agent. A real estate agent might have high gross income. Maybe they're selling a lot of homes and getting a lot of commission from those homes, but their net income might not be great at all because being a real estate agent is an expensive job. They have tons of costs, or at least some of them do. They're having to pay for advertising. They're driving a lot. They have a lot of fuel expenses and vehicle expenses. They probably have a website they're paying for. They're having to split their commission with their broker. They're having to pay fees to be a member of their real estate association. They might have to pay monthly fees to their brokerage. They maybe have an assistant. They probably have an accountant. There are tons of expenses that go into being a real estate agent. So if a real estate agent tells you they made $200,000 in 1 year, that doesn't necessarily mean they pocketed $2,000. Maybe they only had $80,000 left over. Whereas think, for example, a teacher. If you're a high school teacher or something like that, you don't really have business expenses or employment expenses. So maybe your revenue was $80,000 as compared to the $200,000 of the realtor. But as the teacher, what are your employment expenses? You drive to work, that's about it. You don't have to pay for insurance, you don't have to pay for advertising. Maybe you're buying some supplies. So maybe you spent $1,000 towards your job and you earned $80,000. So your net income is $79,000. Pretty much everything you generate in terms of income is income you keep, at least before taxes. Another example would be maybe someone who has investment properties. They might say, hey, I own 10 rental properties and I made $1 million last year. And yes, maybe they had $1 million worth of revenue. But as a real estate investor, they're gonna have to pay for insurance and property taxes and repairs, and they're probably paying an accountant and a lawyer, and maybe they're actually paying a property manager to oversee things for them, and they're probably having to advertise, and all these different things that go into owning a property and being an investor and a property manager. So maybe they had $1 million in revenue, but at the end of the day, or the end of the tax year rather, how much of that income is actually going in their pocket as opposed to being paid out in expenses to maintain those properties. So that would be a good example where the net income would be much lower than the gross income unless all those properties are completely paid off. So this can vary so much, and this would apply for businesses and individuals. Some people have employment where they have high income and no expenses, and therefore their net income would be very similar to their gross income, whereas other businesses or individuals might have very high revenue or gross income, but they have so many expenses that the difference between their net income and their gross income is very significant. So pay attention to that. If someone says they made whatever, $500,000 in 1 year, ask them, was that gross income or net income? Because a lot of times it's gross income and their net income is nowhere near that at all. So it's not that they're lying, and it's not that they're trying to mislead people, it's just how they're framing it, which can be taken in different ways. So you wanna make sure that you understand just what they mean, especially in business terms. So yeah, General Motors made whatever, $10 billion in 1 year, but they spent $11 billion. So what good is that? They're a failing company. It doesn't matter how high their revenue is. And of course, with some businesses, it might start out that way where they have more expenses to start out, and then eventually their net income does become positive. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions about that, you can leave a comment in the comment section below. You can check out some of my other videos on YouTube. I talk about businesses, business management, and business startup. So like the video and subscribe if you liked it, and check out some of my other content on YouTube.